energy efficiency is hugely important. Using less electricity, finding ways to do that probably is the best way to do it. More investment in R&D for solar, use wind where we can use it. Hydro, I think, will be challenged, but certainly is a viable source. We ought to do more with landfill gas. We ought to do more with every alternative that we can invest in. But energy efficiency at the end of the day, probably the best thing to do and the most viable.
And just what are a couple more things that we as just students and just as a community can do to sort of, you talked about the paper bags and things like that, but what are just a couple more examples?
You know what, if you're just sensitive to how much, if you look at where am I making an impact, you ask the questions, you'll find the answer. Freshmen can all have cars, y'all have a cool car here that y'all can use, which I thought was really awesome. I think the issue of the aluminum water bottles or whatever the water bottles are is a really good thing to do, and being sensitive to how much water we use is that certainly is key. And also, if you put the sub-meters in your dorms, figure out how much electricity you're using, and since once you're conscious of it, I think it makes a big difference. That's the main thing you do. You do what you can, you be sensitive to it, and then you do the best you can.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thanks.